Good evening. I'm Haylee Ficuciello for Englebrook Independent News. Tonight, America once again witnessed something that should deeply concern every citizen, regardless of political affiliation, religion, or ideology. On Tuesday night in Manhattan, anti-Israel demonstrators gathered outside historic Park East Synagogue on Upper East Side of New York City. And what unfolded was not peaceful civic discourse. It was intimidation, it was hostility, and for many Jewish Americans watching those scenes unfold, it was fear. Videos from the protest showed crowds waving Palestinian flags, wearing kippahs, screaming Israel should not exist, while clashing with police officers attempting to prevent violence between rival groups. Let's stop pretending the language like that is simply political activism. Because when demonstrators openly chant for the elimination of world's only Jewish state outside a synagogue, outside a Jewish house of worship, that crosses a very dangerous line. And Americans know that. For years now, many public officials, universities, activist organizations, and media outlets have tried to draw a distinction between anti-Israel rhetoric and anti-Semitism, but increasingly the two are colliding in plain sight. When protesters surrounded Jewish neighborhoods, when Jewish students are harassed on college campuses, when synagogues require police barricades and armed security, when demonstrators scream at Jewish families entering places of worship, this is no longer just a foreign policy debate. This is targeted intimidation directed at Jewish people, and Americans are seeing it happen in real time. The fact that New York City had to pass legislation specifically allowing New York City Police Department to erect barriers around synagogues during demonstrations should alarm everyone. Think about that for a moment. In the United States of America, in 2026, Jewish congregations now require barricades to safely attend religious service. How did we get here? How did America reach a point where some protesters feel emboldened enough to chant for the destruction of Israel directly outside of a synagogue? And where did the extremists learn that this behavior is acceptable? Because this didn't happen overnight. This climate has been building for years, and far too many leaders stayed silent while extremist rhetoric escalated. Criticism of government is part of democracy. Criticism of Israel policy is protected speech, but harassment of Jewish Americans is not activism. Threatening behavior outside synagogues is not social justice, and the glorifying intimidation tactics only fuels division, anger, and fear. The reality is this. Across America, anti-Semitism incidents have surged dramatically in recent years. The Anti-Defamation League has repeatedly warned that the country is experiencing some of the highest levels of anti-Semitism activity in modern history. Jewish schools, Jewish businesses, Jewish neighborhoods, and Jewish houses of worship have all increasingly become targeted. And yet, many of Americans feel that there is still hesitation in publicity condemning anti-Semitism when it emerges from politically fashionable movements. That double standard is dangerous. Hatred is hatred. It should not become more acceptable simply because it arrives wrapped in a political slogan. What happened outside Park East Synagogue should serve as a wake-up call, not only for New York, but for the entire country. Because once religious intimidation becomes normalized, once crowds believe they can pressure, fight in, or target people because of their faith or ethnic identity, society begins moving down a very dark road. America has seen this before throughout history, and history repeatedly teaches us what happened when hatred is minimized, excused, or rationalized. The overwhelming majority of Americans, including many peaceful pro-Palestine voices, do not support intimidation, violence, or anti-Semitism. But increasingly, extremist elements are dominating demonstrations nationwide, and law enforcement officers are being forced into dangerous confrontations simply to maintain order. Tuesday night's scene in Manhattan were another reminder that public demonstrations can rapidly evolve from protest into chaos when extremist rhetoric and mob behavior take over. There is also another uncomfortable truth Americans must confront. Jewish communities across the country increasingly feel abandoned. Many Jewish Americans now say they feel unsafe expressing their identity publicly. Some remove religious symbols before walking through certain neighborhoods. Others avoid discussion of their beliefs entirely. That should horrify every decent American, because when any group in the country begins fearing open hostility because of who they are, the fabric of the society itself begins to weaken. And silence is the face of the hatred that only makes it worse. America absolutely protects free speech. America absolutely protects the right to protest. But America should never tolerate threats, intimidation, harassment, or extremist rhetoric directed at people attending religious services. And no synagogue, no church, no mosque, no temple should ever require barricades and police lines simply for congregants to worship safely. The scene outside Park East Synagogue on Tuesday night were not just another protest story. They were a warning sign about rising extremists, rising division, and rising anti-Semitism in the United States. The question now is whether America is willing to confront it honestly before it grows even worse. I'm Haley Ficuciello, and that's been my commentary for Englebrook Independent News. Good night.